guys, it's Adrienne from Crafty Little Gnome, and today I'm going to teach you how to make these fabric face masks. So these fabric face masks are in demand now with hospitals and healthcare workers, and they are looking for people who know how to sew, who can make these masks and donate them. So I'll tell you why this mask is a good one to try making. I made it reversible and double-sided. So it has a different pattern on each side, which means that if the person wearing it has to take it off for any reason, they can know which is the dirty side out, so they don't put their face on the wrong side and risk exposure and infection. There is also a little wire implanted there in the nose area so that you can bend it and it will conform to your nose. In order to make the face mask, you are going to need 2 fat quarters of 100% cotton fabric. It's best to use 2 different colors so that each side looks different. You're going to need an iron, a measuring tape, elastic. I used 1/2 inch braided elastic. You can use any size between 1/4 to 1/2 inch, depending on what you can find. You'll need scissors, straight pins, a little bit of craft wire. This is just regular 20 gauge craft wire, and some wire cutters. You're also going to need a sewing machine, thread, and any other accessories that go along with your sewing machine. You're also going to need a template, which I created. Now, before you begin, you should know that I am not an expert sewer. I am basically beginner, amateur at best. And I created this template pretty quickly in order to get it out as soon as I could. I tried to make it as simple as I could and explain things in a way that people who are also not expert sewers will understand. So you can print it off. I'll put a description in the comments. You can also go to craftylittlegnome.com. I will put a link in the comments as well for that. And you can go ahead and download it and print it off. You're going to cut on the inside of the black line here. And as we go along with the instructions, I'll explain how it all works. If you don't want to download it, it's basically a 7x9 rectangle, and you're going to do a 1/4 inch hem around it. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is cut out your template. You want to cut it out on the inside edge of the black line and line it up with your fabric. So you want to pre-wash and dry your fabric and press it with the iron just to make sure that there's no major wrinkles. Essentially what you're going to be doing, it's a 7x9 inch rectangle with a 1/4 inch hem around it. And then I've also included another line here to show you how to insert the wire piece that goes over the bridge of the nose, but we'll get to that in a minute. If for whatever reason when you're printing off the template, if it's not quite exact, that's okay. Your end result will just be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, but as long as it's just about the right size, everything will be fine. It's not like a piece of clothing that fits tightly where it's really imperative that it fits you exactly. It should still fit as long as you're not way off or things aren't super crooked, but don't be too concerned if your printer settings aren't making this template the exact size. So I put my fabric right sides together. I place the template on top and I just cut around it so that it's the right size. The first thing we're going to do is sew the pieces together just at the top edge here all the way across using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to go ahead and insert the wire. Okay, so I have sewn the top here. I did the 1/4 inch hem there right at the top, and then I've sewn an additional line right underneath, and this is what's going to hold the wire in place for the nose. So this is just a little piece of craft wire. It's about 3 inches long. I believe it's about 20 gauge wire, but any wire that will sort of fit in that area and is easily bendable will work. I curled off the edges so that it's not pokey and also so that it won't poke through the stitches. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and feed it through there and sort of get it into the center. And then I am going to do a quick stitch right there and right there so that it doesn't slide around and move. As you can see here, I have done a little stitch on each side, and the wire is right there encased in the fabric, and the stitches on the sides make sure that it won't move around and it stays in the middle. So now we're ready to go ahead and sew in our straps for the elastic. So the straps I'm using are 7 inches long each, and what I'm doing is I am attaching them on the inside. So the edges just peek right outside of the fabric, and on the inside this is sort of what it looks like. So it kind of loops around on the inside. That way, after everything is sewn together, it's going to make the loop on the inside, and when you turn it inside out, then you'll have the loop that you can put around your ears and it'll be secured through the seam. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and attach it. I've got the elastic in place on each of the corners. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and sew along the outer perimeter all the way around to keep everything closed. These pins are holding the elastic pieces in place. So when I have it in the sewing machine, I'm just going to make sure that it fits nicely in there. I've got these 2 double pins here to tell me where to stop sewing. I need to make sure that there's a gap and that I don't sew the whole thing completely shut, because I'm going to have to flip it inside out. So that's going to be the next step. So what we're doing is we're going to start here. We're going to sew all the way down, making sure that we hit the elastic and that gets included between the 2 pieces. We're going to go down along the bottom and then back up again, making sure to hit the elastic. We're going to stop. We're going to move the sewing machine up to here and then get that last piece of elastic up in there. And after that's all done, we'll take out the pins and we'll flip it inside out. Okay, now that I've sewn all the way around, just a quick few notes. Before I said we're going to sew like this around, I ended up doing it this way, starting, stopping, and then starting again all the way around, just because that's the way it fits in the sewing machine, unless you want to flip the whole thing over and repin it. So just a heads up. Also, over all of the elastic pieces, I went ahead and did the reverse and went back over it on all the sides, just to make sure that it was securely sewed in place. And of course, whenever you start and finish a line, you want to again put that reverse on and just go over it again to make sure that nothing unravels. So now we're ready to go ahead and flip it inside out and do the pleats. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do the pleats. So I went ahead and I ironed the mask just to get it smoothed out a bit. And what I did was, starting from the bottom, I measured and pinned every inch for 4 inches. So from the bottom, you can see that I have a pin at the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. And I did that on both sides. So in order to create the pleats, what we're going to have to do is repin. So what you do is you take the bottom pin and you pinch it up to the top pin, or the pin on top of it, and then you remove both of the pins and stick a pin in place to keep it secure. So once again, we take the bottom pin, move it up to the top pin, take them both out, and then add another pin here to secure it, and we do that on both sides. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the bottom area. There's only 1 pin in place now, replacing both of the pins, and on the side it's going to look like this. Then we're going to go ahead and do this with the top part as well. So just take the bottom pin, move it up to the top pin to sort of flip it, and then pin it in place. And we'll do that on both sides. So just pinching and pulling it up and then repinning. So this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have 2 pleats in here, the pins in position, and then all we have to do is just sew a line here and sew a line here, and that is going to keep everything secure. Now, there was the hole in the side that we never finished with the hem in order to flip the mask inside out. That is already still tucked in, and that is going to stay in place. And as we sew up the sides, that will make sure that is all secure. If you want, you can add a couple stitches in before or after you do the plates if you notice anything sticking out, but I have not noticed that. So we're going to do the last step, which is just go ahead and do a quick line up and down the sides. If you want, you can flip it over and have it go down so you're not working against that curve. And the side of the mask is going to look like that, almost like waves. Okay, so the mask is finished. and it is ready to wear. So as you put it on, the fabric will expand. You can go ahead and form it to fit on your nose, and the straps go around your ears. So it fits just like this. And after you're done wearing it, you can go ahead and throw it in the wash with your regular clothes. You can wash and dry like normal and go ahead and use it again. And you want to make sure that you probably have at least 2 or 3 of these around. You want to have one that you can wear while the one that you just wore is in the wash, and then a spare to have on in case you lose one or you come across somebody else who needs one as well. So there you go. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to answer. You can find more detailed instructions on craftylittlegnome.com. I'll put that in the description as well as a link to the template, and you can also find that in the blog post. So let me know what you think. Hope you all stay safe and healthy, and don't forget to wash your hands.